Hey everybody out there on the internets, welcome back to another edition of Front Seat First Takes. A little bit of an update before I get into the meat of this review. The usual review that you would normally get after 3 weeks of riffs, it didn't happen, obviously, because you're getting this instead. And that's because I ran into some issues at school. And so, because of that, couldn't get equipment to do what I wanted to do. So, in light of that, I decided to do another one of these. Which, if you remember, is I review movies that are animated in the theater right now. Eventually, I will do Coco and Ferdinand. Coco's going to have to wait a little bit because of the holiday Thanksgiving, or as Lewis Black likes to call it, Christmas halftime. I'm going to have to wait until after I get back to review that. But I'm going to see that as soon as I get back from North Carolina. Yippee-doo-dah. But I was figuring on doing these more often because at least would break it up from the usual riffs that I do, and I've always been looking for new content, and there seemed to be a lot of positivities from when I did the My Little Pony review, so I figured, what the hell? Speaking of hell, tonight I review The Star by Sony Animation. Yeah, that's a good segue into this. So for those of you who don't know, The Star is a retelling, an animated children's form of the birth of Jesus Christ, starring everybody that Sony Pictures could pay $3,000 to make this movie. I mean, there isn't a single soul in this thing that isn't famous at one point or another. I mean, Ving Rhames is in this thing, Christian Chenoweth is in this thing. At least I think Christian Chenoweth was in this, or I'm just thinking My Little Pony all over again. Whoopi Goldberg is in this thing. The one that really sticks out, other than Tyler Perry, because of course Tyler Perry would be in something like this, he's a camel, is Tracy Morgan. I'm sorry, if you know who Tracy Morgan is and how he acts and what he says, I mean, his stand-up is crazy. And you think that would be a good idea for a camel? Okay, fine, whatever. You do that. I mean, this movie is chock full of every star, seriously, that they could just get for like $5,000. And I think people were just looking to pay for their house this month and said, sure, I'll be a part of your movie. In terms of animation, it's about 2 notches above DVD quality. It's, I would say, a medium budget for cinematic animation. I mean, nothing really stands out. I mean, it's not like if you watch Zootopia, like if you compare the Zootopia sheep from the sheep in this, you can see the difference in the rendering. Characters. There's one, okay, so this is the retelling of the birth of Jesus, right? But it's really weird for me when I watch Joseph in this, because Joseph looks like Dan Avidan from the Game Grumps, and that's all I'm thinking. So whenever he's helping Mary with whatever's going on, I just hear the songs like No Reason Boner and Everybody Shut Up, I Have an Erection every time that he speaks, and that's probably wrong of me on some sacrilegious level, but I don't care, because it's just the only thing this Joseph is missing in his character design is Dan's like eye scar in his eyebrow. That's it. But he looks spot on like Dan Avidan. I don't know. There's a lot of things going on with this film. It deals with, yes, the birth of Jesus, but it presents it in such a way that there's a lot. It's all animal based. Like Mary and Joseph are part of the story, but they're not the main focus of the story. It's basically about this donkey named Boaz, which is also another running theme in this film. I don't know if the dozen or so other people in the movie theater knew what was going on, but all the main characters that have some association with helping Jesus come to Earth. Their names come from the lineage of Jesus, and so there's that. And a lot of the comedy in this it's run-of-the-mill family fare, but it's not the obnoxious family fare. I mean, I wrote a lot of notes during this thing because I knew I wasn't going to be able to keep track of most of it, but I tried my best. And so, like, in terms of that family fare, like, I'm not the biggest fan of family comedies because they tend to fall through the same few tropes. This one, not so much, thank God. Pun intended. But for some odd reason, this movie had an obsession with butts. And whether it was the donkey's ass or the bird's butt, whatever, there was a lot of butt or talk about butts in this this piece. And I guess I could live with it. It's not the worst thing. A couple of things that I really did not care for. I mean, like, okay. Overall, this movie is not bad. It's average. I mean, there's nothing in it that really sticks out and makes this, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Awesome. Like, it there's nothing unique about it. It's your run-of-the-mill family fare, very safe sort of entertainment. I mean, really wasn't a single joke in the entire movie that made me even really chuckle. I might have smiled once or twice, but really nothing that was like, I see what you did there. Nothing really like that at all. Some of the things that I really wasn't too keen on, first of all, with the donkey, Boaz, because that's the name of the donkey, and naturally the sheep that he's hanging out with is Ruth, and if you know anything about the Bible, Ruth and Boaz are part of the lineage of Jesus, and blah, blah, blah. It's just like David, who is the dove, and The donkey is not Lassie. There are some Lassie moments in this film. Like, I know it's kind of hard to work animals into a story, at least to a point where it's good, like, not like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Tom and Jerry. So I think that was Tom and Jerry and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is too many ants to begin with. But it was okay. It functioned. The other thing that really, okay, so they have artistic license. You're allowed to have artistic license with any story that you do. But there were a couple of things that really didn't sit well with me, and it's just because I'm a fundamentalist, which I know when you think of me and the way that I act on screen, yeah, you really think that I'm a fundamentalist Christian. Well, I'm more fun than mental, or maybe I'm more mental than fun. Either way, maybe I'm just duh. Story's a little anachronistic. If you know the actual story, the wise men don't show up at the birth. It's usually 2 years later, after the fact. That's why they followed the star. That's why, like, at the very beginning, the star shows up, and this leads all the animals to Bethlehem and whatnot. Alright, I see you had to play with that. Plus, I kind of get the idea with the wise men. You had to shoehorn that in. I mean, at least you had the wise men visit King Herod, and that was the next thing I was really concerned about, because how are you going to introduce the concept of baby slaughter to children in a movie like this? Because that is a thing that happened. All children under the age of 2 were slaughtered in the Gospels, and I didn't know how they were going to go about this. So what they did is they have these 2 dogs who lead around this guard or hunter, to find the mother. And a couple of things about this dude. Number one, the hunter looks like he just came out of that Guild Wars game, or one of those, you know, mobile games where you have this random looking hunter dude with a big sword. And that's really all he is. I mean, he doesn't say anything. He just looks around. The dogs that he has do all the talking. Which, if I'm not mistaken, were Ving Rhames and Gabriel Iglesias. I'm probably wrong on the Gabriel Iglesias one, but I'm pretty sure that's who it was, because I know Ving Rhames was the other dog. I don't know why he'd be just following around his dogs. Like, can he communicate with his dogs? Is he the dog whisperer? Whatever. That's what's going on. Second, the dude's pretty psycho. He has no founding, you know, evidence that, you know, Mary is the one he's looking for, other than his dog's growl. And he brandishes his big sword more than once. Like, he's ready to, like, cut some fools up. Thankfully, he doesn't, but, I mean, they do brandish this sword quite a bit in this movie. And the one good thing about it was, though, spoiler in case you don't want to know, the hunter, he dies, but the dogs are actually saved and convert, as dogs do. And speaking of the hunter, the K word is thrown around here, to quote Deadpool. You shouldn't say the K word, but this movie has no problem saying it. They're gonna kill babies. Herod even says it, I think, more than once. Family entertainment. Whatever. But the one thing that really got me was at the end, the donkey prays. I mean, there were some anachronistic things, but the donkey actually prays, and I'm like, that's cute, I guess, but it was really off-putting. It was like, I don't know, it didn't seem to work for me, but it's kids' fare. I'm not really gonna yell at it for that. And it wasn't a mean-spirited message either. I mean, that's usually my big concern with religious films, is they have a tendency, I mean, if you watch a lot of the Christploitation films, kind of hateful. But this one, this is retelling a story of birth, and so it's not that bad. And I mean, there is redemption, which is what the faith proclaims, and that's a good thing. Even these two horrible bad dogs can find solace and salvation, which is nice. Overall, it's not the greatest thing out there. It's like I said, it's run of the mill. It serves its purpose. I guess, you know, the dozen or so people that were there that weren't me, I guess, seemed to enjoy it. There were some families that were laughing at jokes, to kind of question their taste, but they were laughing at it. I guess they don't get out around much, you know, which is actually kind of surprising. I was actually thinking there was going to be less people at this thing than there were, because I'm watching the 9 o'clock show, and I figured, you know, most of these people, considering where I am in bumfuck Tennessee, time to go to bed, because in the morning you gotta, you know, take care of the cows and chickens. But there were a few there. Good for that. So if I had to rate this movie, I'd give it a C. It's just average. There's nothing, like I said, unique or outstanding about it. I mean, it's a decent story. It's rather harmless. I mean, if you're really into the story, yeah, go and see it. If not, don't bother. I just did it because I needed to fill a week for the channel, and this is what I decided to do. But the trailers, these are the things that always interest me when it comes to movies like this, because you have no idea what they could possibly put in front of movies like this. So the first trailer I don't know what to make of it. It's a movie coming out called Isle of Dogs. It's like a unique, it almost looks stop motion, although I highly doubt it. It's probably computer generated somehow. It's kind of got that Coraline or Fantastic Mr. Fox style to it that looks interesting. I mean, it's a cool concept about dogs who, there's an overpopulation of dogs in Japan, and so they move all the dogs to an island. I mean, it looks alright. Don't know what to expect of it, but I'm pretty sure most of the people in the audience were kind of turned off by it. I thought I heard one person like, Japan? Roar. But maybe that was just my imagination. The other one looks really interesting, although I probably won't review it because it's not a cartoon, called A Wrinkle in Time. It's by Disney. There seems to be a lot of anti-conformist messages in it, which to me is like up my alley. But I don't know. It's coming out in the spring sometime, and probably won't go and watch it because it had this really cool Stepford Wives moment that to me was like, yeah, if I was a younger man, I'd probably be interested in it, but something tells me this is catering to something that I would have been interested in about 10 years ago about nonconformity. Now I realize that nonconformity is a mass-marketed tool, but that's just my PhD showing. But like I said, overall, the star, it's average, nothing great about it, it's harmless. Go see it in the movie theater. Like I said, if you're interested in that sort of thing, do it. If not, wait until it's in Redbox or Netflix, which I guarantee it will be. Because it's really nothing to write home about. It serves its purpose. So next time I come out, it'll probably be after Thanksgiving. I'll watch Coco. I'm kind of interested in that because of what the story is. And then I've got Ferdinand in December. And I'm going to try and get to see that. We'll see how that goes. It's pretty much the end of the year, so Lord only knows what's going to be put out in animation at this point. But hopefully, I think Coco will be decent. I don't know about Ferdinand. I haven't really heard much about it, but we'll see. And with that, this has been the second edition of First Take, Front Seat, Fuckery, whatever I call this thing. Like I say, this is nice and quick. I can just ramble on like an idiot behind some lights that are from a car dealership beside the movie theater that I go to. And it's decent looking, so it works and it functions. And, yeah. Whoop-de-doo. Happy Thanksgiving. I almost said Halloween. It might as well be. Whatever. It's not cold around here. It's 60 some odd degrees and people around here complain too much. See ya.